Hi, I'm Chris, and today we are here to talk about the installation of the Covossi Solid Surface Countertop. What we have here is a 118-inch piece of our fine cream solid surface material, and the first step that we want to do is open the packaging and make sure that there's been no damage in shipping. What we want to inspect for is any scratches or dents in the corner, if it has been dropped, to make sure that the countertop is in perfect shape to start with. Also included in the packing for the countertop is a matching colored end cap, which will be discussed later on in the installation instructions. As you've noticed, the countertop is a little bit smaller. I've cut off some of the excess countertop I know I'm not going to use to make it more manageable. After getting the measurements from the top of the cabinet and adding the desired overhang, we're going to transfer that measurement to the top of the Covossi Solid Surface countertop.
I have also taken into account the distance between the saw blade and the edge of the saw base plate. This needs to be added to the measurement when you put it up against the straight edge.
After transferring the desired measurement to the top of the countertop, it is highly recommended that for an invisible seam and a very straight cut that you use a straight edge. In this case, we're using a 4-foot level with 2 quick grip clamps. This will guide the saw through the cut to make sure it's straight and that your seam is not noticeable. We're going to make the cut using a standard circular saw with a carbide tipped blade. The blade we recommend is a 56 tooth blade for non-ferrous plastics. It's a thicker blade and will make a straighter cut. When making the cut, make sure you cut all the way through the countertop in a straight, even motion. You might want to have some extra hands to hold the offcut after the cut is made. We also highly recommend that you wear safety glasses and a mask for the dust.
We have also put masking tape on the bottom of the saw base plate to protect the countertop from any unwanted scratches. After the countertops are cut to length, as you can see in the picture here, we've got 2 different countertops to form the complete countertop. We're going to put them on top of the cabinets and push them together to check the tightness and level of the seam. We check the gap and see that we need to remove a little bit of excess material to tighten it up. So at this point, I'm using the random orbital sander with a 220 sandpaper just to take out any saw blade marks or anything that might be holding the gap from being tight. At this point, you want to take your C-clamps and open them all the way up and be prepared to glue on the blocks that we'll be using to clamp the seam together. Make sure you place your clamps on the countertop so you know that your blocks will be inside of the clamp. At this point, you want to use a hot glue gun to glue the wooden blocks to the countertop surface. At this point, you want to remove the clamps. Using the colored matched adhesive filler, we're going to put a bead on either edge of the joint. And then push the joints back together. Once the joints are pushed back together, we're going to use the adhesive seam filler again to fill the seam. At this point, we want to take our clamps and start clamping the seam from the back to the front. Once all the clamps are tightened, you want to let the seam adhesive sit for about 45 minutes, depending upon temperature and humidity, until it is solid and dry. Now we are going to remove the clamps and use a hammer to tap the wooden blocks off the countertop. Any excess hot glue on the countertop can be removed with a 5-in-1 tool or a putty knife. After any excess glue is removed, we're going to begin the finishing process on the seam. We're going to use the random orbit sander, starting with 120 grit sandpaper, and sand the seam until the filler is smooth with the countertop. Make sure that you sand in a broad area and not concentrated. After using the 120 grit paper, we'll switch to 220 grit paper and sand the area, overlapping where we sanded and expanding further out into the countertop. After the top is smooth with the 220 paper, use a scuff pad to buff out and finish the countertop to match the sheen.
Again, my name was Chris. Thank you for joining me for the installation instructions for Covossi Solid Surfaces. I hope all the information I provided to you is helpful in your own installation. If you have any questions, you can email us at info@covossi.com. Enjoy your countertops.